For the sparks, we'll have two different types. We'll have one spark that's going to be falling, and then we'll have one spark that's kind of rising up through the heat of it all. The spark falling, let's go ahead and make a new particle here under the hierarchy create particle system. And let's just call this one sparks falling. Go ahead and left click and drag it into the fire option right there and set the position 0, 0, 0. Now you may not always have the position at 0, 0, 0. Sometimes you may have stuff that's offset, moves around and everything, and that's fine. For us, what we're going to do with the sparks falling, we'll go ahead and open up the renderer and we'll change this out with our spark material. So as you can probably imagine, the spark itself, we want to make spark a little bit smaller, but we want to make it stretched. It's currently a square, so when we think of a spark, let's take the render mode and do a stretched billboard. There we go. So we want a little bit of a stretch to it here. We're going to do the, we're going to have it on a speed scale, and make sure we get this right. Speed scale point, we'll go for about a quarter stretch, so that as it goes, the faster it goes, it's bigger, it hits, it's slower, it's smaller. The length scale on this one, you can actually set to 0 on it. We're just going to base it on the speed that is coming. Alright, so once you have that one, let's go back up to the top. And inside of the sparks falling, we'll go ahead and take our duration to 1. And then inside of our start lifetime, let's go ahead and set all these up. We're going to do the two constant values for most of them. So we'll say the spark lifetime, we want it to last long enough to be able to hit the ground and then fade away. So we'll go for about a 1 1/4, 1.4 to we'll say 2.5, maybe 2.5 seconds they can sit on the ground. We'll have to kind of judge that based on how long it's sitting there. The start speed that we have for it, we want it to actually go, let me make a start speed. Let's do the two constant for the speed, and we'll do a small value to start with. We'll say it's about a 0.1, and then we'll have some of them that go to about a 4 or 5 range. So kind of like a small, some may just kind of fall off the end and some may kind of shoot out, thinking like how fire kind of works on that side of it when you get those pieces. The start size, we really want to make the start size really small. These are just tiny little spark pieces, so we'll do a constant value here between 2. And it's just going to be like a 0.001. Let's see how that big is. Let's see. Kind of big, kind of small. We'll try the other one here and we have both of them so we can see them. 0.00. There we go. Maybe a 0.05. We don't want it completely aligned. There we go. We'll go for a 0.05, and then if we need to make them a different size, then we can make them a little bit different on there. Alright, the speed scale, if you notice, it's really stretching it too far for that size. It looked good when it was up tall. So let's take our speed scale here, and let's make, instead of a quarter, let's add a 0 here. Let's make it just a fraction of it. There we go. So now if you notice, you get some that are squarish and then some that are more rectangle. It's just based on the speed that they're coming out. And since we have a random speed, you're getting a different shape as it comes out. Alright, so let's go ahead and go back up to here real quick. The start rotation, we can go ahead and rotate it. We'll do the 2 value, 0 to 360. So then we'll get some different directions with it. The start color that we have right now, we have white. I'm going to take the tint down just a little bit. We'll take it to like 200 to 210. Alright, our gravity multiplier, currently they're just shooting upwards. Now what we want to do is actually have them go downwards. So if you notice, now we have the pieces falling down. I'm going to move my my particle piece just up a little bit here so we can see it. Alright, so now we're starting to have some pieces coming from it and shooting out. What we want to do next is make sure that we have on our simulation space, change it to world. That way, if you move it around, they'll just fall on their own where they need to go. The emission type and the shapes, let's go ahead and open both of those up. The emission on here, I'm going to actually take this up to about 30. I'm going to have it, and if we find it has too many pieces shooting out, that's fine. We can change those. The shape itself, we're going to take this, again, we don't want it to be too wide of a base on here, so we'll stick with the cone, but we'll take the radius down to about a 0.25. There we go. That actually looks pretty good on that one. Yeah. Let's do a random direction for it. That way we get a little bit more randomness on how it's coming out from there. Our next thing we want to do is color over lifetime. Let's go ahead and check that one. So the color over lifetime, we're looking for, right now this is completely just a white object, so we want to make it feel like it's glowing hot coming from the fire. So let's go ahead and set up the color for that. The top, the alpha going across here, we'll have it solid as it comes out, and then right at the end, then we'll just kind of switch it over so it'll go from a white to a black right here. So we'll take the alpha, it's going to come out and then go across. Now, actually, before we do this, just so we can see it the whole time, I'm going to go down to our collision and click on your collision option, and be sure that the type is set to world, like this. And then for the collision type, we want to have kind of a mix between the two. We want it to bounce just a little bit more, like bounce and rolls, and then it stops. So you can see how that one's working. So just a little bit of a bounce and then a little bit of a stop to it. I'm going to raise this one up just a bit more. There we go. Now when we work on our color, we'll be able to see that one. So your collision turned on, set to world, dampen and bounce are both set to 0.2 and 0.2. And then I'm going to go back up to our color here over lifetime. Let's go ahead and set up the color pieces. We'll start with white. Well, let's go ahead and go in about 20%, somewhere around there. And let's change our color. I'm going to use the eyedropper tool and then just try to grab kind of a yellowish orange from the fire. There we go. So we'll take a yellowish orange. So if you see, it's already looking like it's kind of glowing from that fire piece right there. And then let's do one more color. Let's start to make this one a little bit darker here. So we'll go for about, let's try about 65, somewhere around there. I'm going to change my color, but the eyedropper tool this time, try to grab an orange tone. So we'll grab an orange, and then let's try and make that one a little bit darker of an orange. Let's see if I can get that one a little bit more. So when just kind of watch your little sparks, you want it to feel like it's red hot, like it's coming out like the yellow, but also that there's that tint of orange that comes from it as it starts to cool down. Yeah, so then you get that little, it hits, then it starts to turn orange, and then it starts to fade away. Cool. And then that last one, just to re-emphasize on that that last part, we don't want it to go white, we want it to go to a darker tone, so we'll go back to that brown that we were at, and then darken it up even more. There we go. So color-wise, just to review on it, we have the yellowish one that was 254, 194, and 90. We have our medium tone, 139, 55, 18. And then we have our darker brown red, which is at 69, 25, and 5. And those, again, you may find that you have a different type for it. Feel free to make it whatever the color of your fire is. You want to kind of accent that same type. So now we've got some really fun spark pieces that come out. They feel like they're kind of hot like the fire, and then they kind of cool off and then disappear. Alright. So let's go ahead and close our shapes rollout, and we'll take a look at this. So this is the fire up to this point. We have one type of spark coming from it. Our next spark that we want to have coming from is going to just be the kind that feels like it's so light that it follows up with the smoke, it drifts up with the heat. Alright.